Welcome to the Lifted Lifestyle Podcast. This is a call to action to live above limitations that try to disrupt your peace, steal your joy, and limit your access to your best life. How you guys doing? I'm Latasha Weatherspoon, the Chief Empowerment Officer of the Lifted Lifestyle and your favorite host. Joined today by my favorite host, Chazz Bailey himself.
Hello, world. This is COO Chazz Bailey in the flesh. I hope everything's going well out there, world. Great to be here for another day. You can find me on social media at Chazz Bailey as well.
Yeah, you can find me on social media at Tasha Spoon and at The Lifted Lifestyle on all social media platforms. How you feeling today, Mr. Bailey?
I'm feeling good. And energized. Looking forward to what's to come and grateful that the week has passed so far. So I'm happy. I'm happy to be here.
Well, that brings me to my next question. What are you grateful for today?
Well, what am I grateful for today is basically during the week was able to be a part of some outreach in the city. So I'm grateful for like-minded individuals that wish to reach back and make the next generation better than the one as we have now. And that doesn't mean that the one now is not good. It just means we want the next one to be even better. So looking forward to growth with that. And definitely grateful for that this week.
Well, for me, I think this week I am grateful for so many things. But I think this week I'm most grateful for my health and my strength and just my ability to be present inside of my body. That's been my focus this week, is actually being present in my body, paying attention to, when I'm tired and being able to take a break. So just that awareness I'm grateful for this week.
Yeah, you need that, especially right now as it's the cold season and people are sick, and we definitely send our regards that those that are sick, we wish you to get well, and definitely got to pay attention to your body.
Last week I had bronchitis pretty bad and an ear infection and sinusitis and all these different things going on at one time, and I was just like, my body wasn't feeling right, and I didn't have any of the classic signs, but I was just worn out, just fatigued on another level. So I was actually able to kind of be like, well, something isn't right, and went to the urgent care, and they got me right on together.
Exactly. So shout outs to urgent care.
Yeah, shout out to Dr. Taylor, Erica Taylor, who was the doctor there. She was a physician assistant who was great. She attended to me.
Awesome.
So this week's show is about forgiveness. It's the title, Forgive and Be Forgiven. And, forgiveness is a topic that we get questions about and emails about all of the time because it's such a heavy subject. All of us have been in a place where we needed forgiveness, but have also been in a place where we carry things that we kind of wanted to let go of. So people are constantly on a quest to find forgiveness or own forgiveness. So that's what our title of our show today is forgiveness. So let's get right into it.
All right. This is a deep one.
Yeah, I know.
Topic.
There's some shows where we can just kind of get in and have a little fun, but then there's some shows where we have to get in, dig our heels in, and do the work. This is definitely one of those do the work kind of shows.
Exactly. All right.
So I guess to start the show, I want to talk about the concept of what forgiveness means to you. What forgiveness is by definition. And when I was preparing for this show, I found a definition that I want to share with you guys, where it says forgiveness is different from condoning an action. It is an intentional and voluntary process by which a person undergoes a change in feelings, attitude, or a choice to let go of negative emotions. So that was, I thought, powerful because it was actually focused around the fact that forgiveness is a choice, to release the bondage of negativity that we often have surrounding things that we've been through that have hurt us.
Yeah, exactly.
So forgiveness is different from several things, including condoning a behavior. You know, a lot of times people will say, well, I can't forgive them because they'll think what they did was okay.
Yeah.
But forgiveness is different from condoning it or excusing it or saying, you know, that was okay that you did that. No. Forgiving is just releasing the bondage of that negativity surrounded by what has happened.
So, in other words, changing the energy of that particular instance or occurrence. Does that fit in that? So, if the climate of it is hurt or sadness or something negative,
Yeah, you know,
once I
shifting.
change that to a positive area, that is the process of forgiveness.
Yes, I mean it's not an act of actually excusing it or giving a person a pass for their actions or what they did to hurt you or to cause you harm, but it's making the choice to let go of the negativity that you hold inside of your body. Because when you think about it, for example, think about someone who has done something to you that was hurtful or harmful. A lot of times when you see that person, you get a physical, visceral response. Like you get kind of tense. Forgiveness is putting yourself in a state where they don't have the power to shift your reaction. They don't have the power to shift your energy in any way.
Gotcha.
You know, actually taking the ownership over your interactions with the person and your experiences. We're going to get to that a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds perfect. Because to me, with forgiveness, that definitely means something of finding your peace, finding your go-to place of comfort, not necessarily of happiness, but just to be comfortable. Where if, like, I think you used the perfect example. If I see a person that did something or whatever it may be that was negative and I was holding that in, to basically release that weight off of my shoulders, for example. So walking through that's what virtually it means to me, is even though this occurred with this person or this subject, walking into that room, walking into, that environment with whatever that caused this issue for me, being there and just saying, I'm comfortable. It's okay.
Yeah.
Everything is good. It's not saying that, as you said, no, I'm not condoning it, but I'm not affected in a negative way as I was when whatever occurred.
Yeah. So, it's about shifting your energy and your response, your emotional attachment to a situation.
Gotcha.
It's not about removing responsibility. It's not about removing ownership, and it's not about excusing it, and it's also not about forgetting it, because a lot of times people will say, well, if I forgive them, they'll think that, it was okay, or that, I don't want to forget that. But you don't have to forget it. You just have to change your energy and the impact of whatever the hurt was on your life.
That's perfect.
Changing the impact.
Yeah, you can't go any further than that, because the impact on your life can lead to different things of negativity. So if you have a negative spirit about one thing, it could translate into something else and form that domino effect. So it's imperative in my mind to reach out internal and change that energy so you can formulate positive thoughts, positive actions, and be at your best self and be peaceful in whatever environment you're in, despite
Definitely.
what have happened to cause you a particular strain on yourself.
And making the choice to forgive is never an easy one, because a lot of times we're more focused on the actual hurt, the actual instance, than we are on our own selves and the actual feeling of resentment and how it's impacting us.
Yeah.
There's a quote, and I was trying to remember just now who said it, where it says, having resentment and unforgiveness is almost like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
No, that's deep.
I can't remember who said that, but it was powerful, because when you think about it, that's exactly what resentment and unforgiveness is. You are the one carrying the burden.
Yes.
You're the one harboring the emotion. And this person oftentimes is off living their life, with no accountability. They're not, in a lot of ways, concerned with you or your emotion. But when you are harboring unforgiveness, a lot of times it's hard to put yourself in a position where you're able to let go of and not be impacted.
No, that's true. And that takes me to something you said earlier about you being grateful this week for not just being ill and paying attention to your body and being able to come out of the illness you had. So thinking about it in that sense of what you just said, holding that in is causing an internal strain. So everything that you do, even if you're sick, your healing process may be at a slower pace because of that. So that's a part of a self-care package.
Definitely.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness and resentment is just like, we talk all the time about harboring negative emotions. Mm-hmm. It's a very negative emotion, and I really think that sometimes the worry, the stress of it all definitely has physiological consequences.
Oh, definitely.
And repercussions to holding that kind of a negative, hard feeling inside of yourself. And a lot of times when we're in a space of unforgiveness, one of the most difficult things is forgiving a person who won't even ask for forgiveness, forgiving a person who won't apologize. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we're in a space where we're waiting for someone to just say, I'm sorry. But you have to recognize that when you're in that space, you're giving the other person the power, because you have to free yourself from the negative emotion and bondage that they've gifted you, regardless of whether or not they ever say I'm sorry, because your forgiveness is for you. It's about you. It's not about the other person. It's not even about the instance. And don't get me wrong, I'm not minimizing anything that any of us have ever experienced in our lives. But at some point, until you forgive, you close yourself off to positivity. You close yourself off to your ability to manifest goodness in some areas of your life. I really believe.
Yeah, because overall forgiveness is a choice, and it's a choice that you make. Because no matter what has happened, forgiveness is a choice that you have to decide. Just as if we decide on our own feelings and how we approach things, forgiveness is one of those type of things. Like, it's my choice. Like, if you hit me, it's my choice to know if I forgive you for doing that a year later. Mm-hmm. Because you may have hit me out of fun and what have you, but I may have felt some hurt behind that. But if I hold that in and wait for you to come to my rescue and say, you know what, I'm sorry for hitting you last year.
And that brings me to something interesting too, Chaz, is because a lot of times we're waiting for an apology, or we're harboring these negative emotions that we haven't even expressed.
Exactly.
Sometimes we get our feelings hurt by interactions with people, and they had no intention on hurting us.
Oh, yeah,
There
definitely.
are also other times where people are very malicious and they do things that are evil and ugly and they hurt us. But how many times do you actually say that hurt my feelings?
Yeah, you have to go back to being a child almost, because you have to advocate for yourself in that regard. You have to say that hurt my feelings, or I didn't like when you did whatever it was, or that just overall wasn't nice. Mm-hmm, and when you say that, then someone can be cognitively aware to say, hey, I didn't mean it that way, and then you can change your perspective. But if you never say that and this person go on about their business, you formulate these inconsistent patterns in your mind about this person when it was never their intent to do that. But by advocating for yourself, you let it be known. Now, if it goes, you let it be known and they still like whatever, so what? That's a whole different thing. But you do have to advocate for yourself and let whatever you're feeling at the moment be known, so people can understand what they done and how to combat that or form a solution to it.
Definitely. I think that as adults, we grow to a place where most of us don't like confrontation, despite what, the patterns may say. A lot of us don't like confrontation. There are some very confrontational people, but I think as a large part, most of us don't like it. So we don't like saying, I think you are wrong. we don't like saying that hurt me when.
Exactly.
Because it's a very vulnerable space to actually have to admit that it hurt you.
Yeah.
A lot of us are walking around with guards on, like we're untouchable, or unfazed, unbothered, and unfazed, when the truth is a lot of us are bothered and fazed about a lot of things that we aren't being honest about.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
you hold yourself hostage when, one, you're not forgiving a person for a hurt that they've for something that they did that hurt you, but you're also holding yourself hostage when you don't say, hey, that hurt my feelings.
Okay.
And I am a firm believer in being transparent.
Yeah, you definitely have to be. And that brings a question. If what you just said is the foundation, then who is forgiveness really for?
It's for you. It's for you. It's not about the person who hurt you. And I think a lot of times about people who've been through traumas in their lives, or not even traumas, but just hurtful instances in their formative years, during adolescence and childhood. And a lot of us carry those hurts and that baggage into adulthood.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
we have not forgiven our parents and people in our families that hurt us when we were young, or that gave us these negative kind of ideologies when we were young. And we take that with us on our journey, and it impacts how we make connections in our adult lives. Think about people who were bullied when they were children, or who had trouble making friends in their adolescent years. A lot of those same people struggle to make connections and bonds in adulthood. A lot of those people who were hurt as children struggle to be free from that hurt in adulthood. Like, a personal story for me, like when I was a teenager, I really struggled to make good bonds with friends that weren't my friends for years and years and years. Because when you grow up and you're teased for whatever reason, you get kind of guarded. And it's a fear almost, like, okay, if I open up to this person, are they gonna be using me for what they can get from me, or are they gonna turn on me? And then in my 20s, I had to realize that, hey, what happened to me in high school, it doesn't have to be my collegiate experience.
Exactly. I think that's a key point. A key point that goes to every age group, because what happens today doesn't affect tomorrow unless you let it.
Yeah.
Because like we had a show, we talked about every day is New Year's Day. Every day is a new year, a new chance. And so if I think I agree 100% with what you just said, but also sometimes that, like you said, it limits what you can do for others. So for example, let's say if I was bullied and couldn't make these connections in my youth, now I have grown through my scholastic achievements and have a little bit of power. I will shy away from people that take me to that point, when now I'm in a position to help, because I'm guarded. It's not necessarily saying I'm a bad person at this time, but I'm guarded from that because it's taking me down a tough place. Because what happens is that forgiveness is for me, and I haven't forgave what happened back then, and this person may not even be like that anymore, may not even be on this earth anymore, but I'm still holding that in. And now that affects every person I come in contact with, that reminds me of something I went through.
Definitely.
And so
that's a very valid point.
Yeah, it's something strong we have to always remember, because life takes us anywhere, and we run into people in every phase of life. And as I believe my place on this earth is to leave people better than I found them, whether it's from a smile, a hug, or a talk. But if I hold on to something that I have not forgave in the past, and they remind me of something negative, and I decide not to smile, hug, or talk to these people that remind me of that, haven't I just limited my gift, and haven't I just
limited your ability to connect with somebody that may be good for you?
Exactly.
But Chaz, thinking about what you said brought me to the thought that before you can forgive, you have to own your emotion.
Yeah.
You have to own that something hurt you. A lot of us are living in this perfectionist mentality or this illusion of perfection, where, I haven't been through anything, or, I never had to deal with that, or, my life is just so perfect.
Exactly.
When it isn't until you're in a place where you can be vulnerable, honest, and transparent about what you have experienced and what you are experiencing that you can even do the work to get to a place of forgiveness.
No, that's
because
true.
if you won't admit that you've been through something and something has hurt you, you cannot forgive it.
Yeah.
You cannot forgive what you won't face.
Yeah, exactly. So we can't let society overall tell us that we have to have a turtle shell to everything, and we have to remember that turtle shell inside is a living being.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard. It's hard because no matter your environment, and I speak this from a perspective where I grew up around my friends and manhood and how things were told to us that we couldn't let certain things get to us. And if certain things get to you, you don't let it be known. But if you don't let it be known, then now you creating these other external negativities for other people and yourself.
Facade.
Yeah, you making this facade like we say we live in the social media positivity.
The Instagram culture.
Yeah, in the Instagram culture. So all you see is my Ferraris and Lamborghinis and these fantastic houses and vacations, but I'm not showing you this checkbook. That I'm struggling, right? I'm not showing you that rent due. Like when the first of the month comes, there's a song called The First of the Month, and sometimes we ain't trying to hear it because rent due, and everybody has their hand out, and the buildings, the cars, everything looks nice until the bill is due. And sometimes the bill is due on our lives, because when it comes to our lives and the bill is due and we have to step up and say, you know what? It's time for me to let this be known. Walk into your job and say, yes, I understand that usually every day before I get off, you hand me a stack of papers and tell me to do this before I leave. Now, is this due right now or is this due later? Because if you give me an irrational question, you're going to get an irrational answer. That's what we do.
I want to go back to the bill is due in our lives. I really like that, because when you think about it, you have to pay yourself first.
Yeah.
But when you pay yourself first, a side note to that is you have to forgive yourself first.
You do.
So that's something else too. I think that a lot of us are not willing to accept that, again, we're not perfect. We're not willing to accept and say, I'm sorry when you have done something wrong.
Exactly.
Because at the core of it, some of us haven't made as egregious mistakes as those that we've experienced from other people in our lives, but we've all been to a place where we needed a little grace.
Yeah, definitely.
We've all been to a place where we did something to hurt someone else on some level.
Yeah.
It may not be as hard of a level as other things, but it's still a degree of hurt. Yeah. You got to take ownership of the hurt you've caused.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Forgive yourself for what you have done, because empathy starts at home.
Yeah, that's true.
If you can't forgive yourself, you'll never be able to forgive other people.
Yeah.
And there are some experiences where you have to forgive your role in the experience in order to forgive the other person. For example, for those of us who've been in relationships where we're like, oh, you broke my heart. Oh, you did this to me. But the truth is, did you not know that this person wasn't a good person year 2?
Yeah, definitely.
Did you stay year 3? You have to forgive yourself for your role
your part, yeah.
in that hurt.
Exactly.
You have to forgive yourself for little decisions that you've made that have caused hurt to yourself or cause hurt to other people. I was telling this one young lady the other day in our coaching session, she was like, I should be further along by now. My life should look differently. I should be able to buy a house in my 30s and my credit is bad. And I said, stop. I said, you have to forgive yourself for the choices that you've made that have led your life to this point. Because until you forgive yourself for the choices that you've made that led you to this point, you can't make better choices.
Yeah, you can't. It's the part of self-love that is less talked about, because we speak about healing and positivity, but this forms into that. It's like getting your immunizations as a kid. You know, this keeps you from being sick and having illnesses that can damper your life, but you have to get that needle in your arm. And that needle hurts.
We don't want to deal with the hurt.
We don't want to deal with that hurt part. But sometimes that hurt makes you better because it's something in that injects in you that changed everything. And so if, like right now, we have people struggling with the flu virus and say, well, I didn't get a flu shot. Or I didn't get this, or I didn't get that.
Well, I'm not team flu shot, but you know.
But see, hey.
But I understand your point.
Yeah,
though. I
exactly.
definitely get your point. We got to be willing to deal with the hurt in order to get to a place where we can be healed. And the point about this is the part about self-love that no one wants to talk about is it goes back again to no one wants to be vulnerable and transparent and admit that, you know what? I might have had some culpability in that.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
I might have done some things that caused hurt to someone else.
Yeah, what was my role in this?
Yep.
Because everything is not always 100% one-sided. Even if it's 0.1% that I did, I showed up somewhere I shouldn't have been anyway, and this happened. Well, that was my part, and you know what? I'm sorry for doing that myself.
And the things that you have no culpability in, because there are some things that happen to you, to people that you could not have prevented. That it was just a egregious act.
Yeah, definitely.
There are instances where that happened, but even in those instances, you have to let go of any thinking that you could have done something differently.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, you have to let go of any belief system that is binding you to the idea that you could have changed it.
Because sometimes you don't have the power to change the overall situation, and we put that blame on ourselves and something of that nature. That's what you need to be forgiving yourself for. Okay. When we think it has to be because I accidentally stabbed myself. Okay, don't stab yourself no more. But sometimes it's just because I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have been here. It's all my fault. Start saying, I forgive myself for that thinking, for that process.
Ooh, that's good.
So because sometimes it's in the mind. Like we speak about affirmation that comes out of your mouth, but it starts in your mind, just like every thought. And sometimes you have positive and you have negative thoughts. So those negative thoughts, you can say, you know what, I forgive myself for those negative thoughts. And from this point on, I'm going to take the steps to keep those to a minimum, because none of us are perfect. So we all have negative thoughts that can come at the drop of a dime. But to taking the steps to say, I'm going to not have these thoughts as much, and eventually they will get down to a very low point. And it's almost rare that I have a negative thought, because where I was and where I've become based on me forgiving myself and understanding who I am.
Good. Let's look at the steps to forgiveness. Let's address what are the steps to forgiveness. We're going to put a graphic up for you guys and talk about it. But the first thing, like I said, is forgiving yourself. That's first. Because until you forgive yourself, you're not able to move further in the process, and that's a hard thing to do, but it is a necessary one. The second thing is expressing your emotions externally. How do we express our emotions externally?
Yeah, that
write it down.
Write it down. Tell someone else. Tell your friend. Tell your partner. Tell whoever that may be.
Or go to counseling.
Yeah, go to counseling. Anything that you can reach external for a positive, basically ending.
Yeah.
Whatever ends positive based on what you've done. Yeah.
And then after you have, of course, expressed your emotions, we want to own your emotions.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Own how you feel about it. If you mad as hell, be mad as hell.
Yeah.
If you are afraid, be afraid. Own what you feel, because you cannot fix what you will not face.
Yeah, that's true.
You cannot overcome anger and resentment and hurt if you won't first own the fact that you feel anger, resentment, and hurt.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no need to fake it. No need to fake it, because this is too important.
And then next, give grace. Give grace. Recognize that we've all been to a place where we've needed a little bit of grace.
Yeah, definitely.
We've all been to a place where we needed a little bit of forgiveness. Most of us won't say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But we've all had instances where we needed to say I'm sorry.
Yeah, start with a hug. Just give them a hug and just walk off and come back and then tell them the rest.
Yeah.
It's like you have to start somewhere.
Start
You have to start
somewhere.
somewhere. And then the next thing is making that choice to forgive. Making that choice to say, you know what? I'm going to forgive you because of what this happened. But also, as we just said, I'm going to forgive myself in that role. And it starts internal. Because before I can knock on your door, pick up the phone, or see you, I have to make that decision to do that. And I have to make that decision internally to say, I'm sorry for this and I forgive you for this. So when I see you, it's not going to automatically bring back those negative feelings because we may have not have seen each other for a while. So reach out, pick up the phone. But before you do that, start mentally.
And you know what? Making the choice to forgive for me is also about making the choice to take your power back.
Oh, yeah.
Making the choice to say, you know what? I own my emotions. I own my feelings, and I'm not going to allow you to make me feel angry, upset, or some kind of way every time I see you. I'm not going to give you the power to change my emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Own
it sometimes is just making that choice to forgive and making the choice to take my own power back.
And that's creating the boundaries, as we have next.
Okay, and then the next is create boundaries. Just because you forgive a person doesn't mean that you have to see them. Yeah. Doesn't mean that you have to talk to them. I tell all of the people that I coach, if you go through a breakup, block your ex on social media. Take their number out of your phone.
Yeah.
You don't need to be looking at what his new girlfriend looked like. You don't need to be stalking her on Instagram to see, how much weight she's lost and how snatched her waist is, because that's not going to do anything but put you in a situation where you're reaching out to somebody who was not healthy for you. Create boundaries.
Yeah, understand who you are and putting those limitations there. If you know that would affect you seeing someone like that and in that realm because where you came from, build that fence to keep you from jumping over and seeing it.
Ooh,
and that helps you move along, and it helps you in your internal process of self-care.
And then the last thing is acknowledge that it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, definitely.
Forgiving for small things, big things, or everything in between, it will not happen overnight.
Exactly.
There'll be moments where you've made the choice to forgive, but then you see them somewhere and they've hurt you, or you're reminded of the instance in which they hurt you, and it all comes flooding back to you. Allow yourself to feel what you feel in the moment, but also continually make the choice to own your own experience.
Yeah, own it.
Own your own emotions. I often say in affirmations that I am in control of my emotions and how they show up in the world. And you have to make that choice as many times as you need to, because it's a process. It's not going to happen in an instant.
It's an overall process, so we definitely got to remember that. Forgiveness is a process.
So that brings us to our good news story of the week, Chaz.
Yes, a good news story of the week takes place out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, where this teacher, a young teacher, struggled with a student and said this student was one of the worst students she had, and she was looking forward to just getting out of teaching altogether because of what this student made her feel. And then she had to own her emotions, like we spoke today, and understand and look past the shell. Okay, he's acting out this, that, and the third. And over time, as she reached internally, she learned that this student came from poverty. He had so many different struggles in life, so he was acting out. So they got on one accord over the course of the next couple of years. So fast forward, she leaves the school, and one night she had a dream where she said God told her that she needs to adopt this kid. So other teachers would send him to her classroom, and while he was taking a test, he looked up and he said, "Can I come live with you?" randomly at the day after she had this dream.
Wow.
And after that, long story short, she reached out to the family and everything, and the family said, "We would love for you to take him and adopt him and his little brother." And what has happened now, they showed his report card as of the first year living with her, and he has 7 classes and has 6 A's and 1 B.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that's amazing. So you just have to look past those faults and look deeper into it, because sometimes you have to forgive yourself, as this teacher assumed the worst because of the way this child was acting
Wow.
out, and now she is able to play an active role in his life and becoming a young man.
That is definitely some good news. And I know today's show topic was a little bit tougher and a little bit heavier than we like it, but it's also necessary. None of us want to talk about doing the work. None of us, want to admit that sometimes it's an ugly process. It's not always pretty, but it is always necessary.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for joining us to this week. And as we leave, I want to give you your call to action. One of the things that I want you to do this week is take a moment as a part of your routine. After you do your affirmations and in your morning ritual, take a moment to forgive yourself. This is a journey that I'm going to take with you. This is something that's new to us. Usually I like to implement things that we've already done, but this will be something that we can do together. And that is basically asking yourself, saying to yourself, I forgive you for. After you've done your affirmations and you've, affirmed all of the good in you, you're going to say, Tasha, I forgive you for eating that chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You got to say, I forgive myself for. And, in the past, we had the shows, and this is something that we invite you all to do with us because we haven't done this yet. And so this is a deep topic, and we can't facilitate this show without being a part of the healing ourselves.
Oh, of course. I don't believe in teaching anything I'm not willing to live.
Exactly.
So I'm going to take this journey with you.
So we're going to take this journey together and add this to our affirmations. So as we say, I am a billionaire, I am this, or I am that the positive things. Don't forget, forgiveness is a positive factor of our self-care package. So I forgive myself for whatever that may be. And I'll start off, I forgive myself for procrastinating sometimes. So I'm putting that out there. Sometimes I procrastinate and I'm getting better at it, but that's not all of them because I'm going to sit there and give you an essay when I say mine. So, but, whatever it may be, it may be one for you.
We got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere.
I'm just going to start with, I forgive myself for not making my gym commitment last week or the week before that, where I committed to going to the gym 5 days a week. And I hadn't made it 5 days. I have been going, but not 5 days a week. So I forgive myself for not being as dedicated to that particular goal. And next week, we're going to have a better week.
Exactly. So go ahead and claim it along with your other affirmations, and we're going to forgive ourselves and make ourselves better as we go along this journey.
So forgive yourself and then affirm yourself.
Exactly.
Do the thing where you address what it is you are forgiving yourself for and then affirm yourself with some goodness. So you're not stuck on the focus of what didn't I do. I don't want anyone to go down the rabbit hole of, oh yeah, I didn't do that and I don't finish things. I said, no.
Yeah.
We're going to forgive yourself first. And then you're going to affirm yourself with those affirmations that you were supposed to create in your call to action during our self-care show.
Exactly. And then allow that to help create other affirmations for you. So, I didn't have an affirmation saying I am working through procrastinating times or whatever it may be. But if I say I forgive myself for procrastination, now I have a new affirmation on my list that I am working through everything at that particular moment throughout all my days.
Affirm it in the positive sense,
Exactly.
Instead of saying, I don't procrastinate, you're going to say things like, I am organized and on time. I'm working on my dreams effortlessly and consistently. You're going to affirm the positivity that is the counter to it. Exactly. So if, like for myself, I'm going to say, I am working out consistently.
Yes.
I am allowing myself to release weight that I no longer want to carry in the physical and emotional sense.
Yeah, perfect.
So affirming yourself after you faced what it is you need to forgive. Thank you guys for joining us. We are the Lifted Lifestyle Executive Team. Please find us on social media at The Lifted Lifestyle. And I am Latasha Weatherspoon. You can find me at Tasha Spoon on all social media channels.
Yes, and also don't forget to visit us online at theliftedlifestyle.com where we can reach out to you through coaching or just to say hello. So reach out to us via social media or our website. So looking to see you soon, and thank you for joining us today.
And until next time, don't forget to live lifted.
See you later.